focus and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He is a speaker as well as an author too, and the author of the upcoming book, Authentic Self Rebirth, no other than Mr. Polish Peter Kolat.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm grateful to be here.
Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Peter. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Well, so I am a transformational coach. I help people create businesses that support their life, not the other way around. And through that journey, what I've discovered is that I found that a lot of people do not live, they don't know their true authentic self. So the whole entire journey, I hope you hear, was to help people find who their true authentic self is so they can actually operate in the world where they're empowered and they can actually run a business or whether I have a W 2 working for someone else. It feels like this is what I was made for, kind of a thing, right? I want them to
Yes.
get to that space. So I was originally born in Poland and came here in 91 when I was 14 years old, no English. And since then, I've, got built a couple of companies. And today I am a proud owner of this particular business and helping people coach them and building businesses and helping them grow.
Building businesses indeed, Mr. Polish Peter Kolat. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And let's talk about your upcoming book, Authentic Self Rebirth. What inspired you to write this book, and how did your own journey through divorce and uncertainty shape its message?
Well, so what inspired me to write this book is back in 2011, I got divorced, and it was a really tough period for me after that divorce. It was to a point where what I call my optimistic depression. So, when people were asking me about, how is life, what's going on, and how are you, I'll be like, I'm good, everything's good, no worries. However, deep down inside, I was depressed. Um, I was not operating in a way that I can actually go and do anything. So, what inspired me, this book has been within me for many years. Obviously, it's 2025. And what I've basically put into this book, my entire life stories from my own walk, from my own students' walks, to be able to help people if they are in a place of uncertainty, if they're in a place of worry, or there's something that's not working in their life as like it, they would like it to, and something is off, like if it feels like something is off, then this book would be for them to be able to help them not only uncover that, but also live in their authenticity to be able to go and rock out in life. So it's from my own personal walk, my students' walks. There's a lot of stories, exercises in there to help them, transform their own self.
The book promises to transform fear and self doubt into peace and purpose. Can you share a personal story from your life that illustrate this transformation?
Yeah. So coming from fear to peace. So one of the things that I've discovered for myself that as I was going through this entire process, I don't know there was the first part of the book is talking about the awakening. So literally getting to know yourself well. And in that process, in this kind of like peeling the onion, so to speak, what I discovered that I had this fear of I'm not good enough. And I constantly tried to fight this fear and, push it away and not deal with it. And the way it was showing up in my life is I couldn't get clients. I couldn't grow my business. I couldn't be myself, and I couldn't find a, mate to be able to, like, woman, right, in my life. So what how that transformed to peace is that once I discover what that fear is and I stopped fighting it and I started basically, through this process that I outlined in the book, getting back and sort of basically having this love, unconditional love for myself and for that thing, and literally stepping into that fear, and through that fear, it lost power over me. And now, when I go and speak on stages or speak on the book or speak anywhere, I'm not concerned whether or not people like me, or not to be, a bad person, but it doesn't stop me from basically acting out in life. And I found my wife that I love, and she is an amazing human being. And my life is just, works now. And I feel like this is what I was made to do. So I feel like I've gotten to that authenticity, and I want to share that with the people around the world.
You introduced the seven human drives in the book. Can you explain what they are and how they influence our decisions?
Yes. So this framework are basically developed based on the six human needs framework that originally Tony Robbins and Chloe Madanas put together. You probably heard about Tony Robbins. But as the more I started diving into this and looking at how it affects us human beings, how we operate, I discovered it's more of like a drive than a need, like something that drives us to act in a certain way. So that seven human drives framework will literally explain to you why you do the things you do, why you don't do the things you do, why are people the way they are around you, how they act, and why do some people leave in your life and they come back, and how you are. So ever literally explains everything around your world. And so, in without going too much into detail, because I can speak about it, I mean, it's one of the longest chapters in the book. It's I'll just share with you. There is the first few I'll share with you guys is one is certainty. I think every single person needs to feel has this drive for some kind of a certainty, some kind of a comfort in their life. And for one person, it may mean that I need to have food on the table. For another person, it may mean that I need to know exactly what's happening in my life throughout every single day. I need to plan out my every single moment of my life, because if I don't have that plan, I don't have that comfort of how the day is going to go, I'm going to get very anxious, right? So that one need, that one drive is going to drive. If this is big one for you, like you need to have this in your life, this drive, every single decision that you're going to be making and how you're going to be living will be based on that need for comfort and certainty. And that's very difficult for you to be able to grow in life. Another one, and there is um, need or the drive, I want to say, is for significance, for feeling important, feeling like I matter. Every single one of us in the world needs to have some form of importance, right? So when it comes to, let's say, relationships and how you are in relationships, if you are have a significant other, or with your kids, or if you're a daughter or a son, you want to feel important. So when you start to discover what those drives are and how you need to meet them, like there is ways that you meet them either through how you do different things in life and habits that you have. When you start to discover them, you start to be in charge of yourself, as opposed to these habits, these beliefs being in charge of you. And then when you can start to go and reframe and come back and create that authentic self to be able to go and, and live life that you were always meant to be. So these are just two of them. There are seven of them. I could go on, and but I think you might be able to learn a lot more from what I'm sharing here.
Definitely authentic you, people. How do you develop the rebirth visualization practice, and what makes effective for uncovering clarity and inner peace?
So, authentic rebirth, how you establish it, I would say, this framework, it took me a while to be able to discover it and go through it and create it. And I did my best in the book to basically instill it in a very simple language that anyone can understand. As you can tell, I am a immigrant. I have an accent, so I speak plainly. I don't use big words. So I wanted to make sure that people are able to read it plainly. And then the way it works is the step one is to what I call the awakening. And the awakening is basically you've been living in this, um, for the lack of a better word, matrix, if you think about it, because you don't know exactly what the beliefs that you have that are driving your life and how you are that you are and how you ended up being that way. If you go back to, let's say, when you were 4 or 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old, you were not so much concerned about how you show up in life and whether people like you or don't like you, or how whether someone is going to look at you a certain way. And yet here we are today and we are very concerned about that. Like, look at social media, right? So the part one is the awakening. Once you really know how what that is. Then what I have what's called a this visualization process that I guide people through, and it's in that book. And you through the visualization process, I call what it's called a rebirth, and that means it's shedding, letting go of a lot of those limiting beliefs. I call them blind agreements that we've developed over our years, and just letting go of those blind agreements to be able to go and if you really think about it, over the years, if you're in your 20s, 30s, or 40s, what happened is you've took on a whole bunch of different agreements that someone says that this is how it needs to be. This is how you need to be. Here's the belief that you need to believe, right? Like, for instance, like I need to do everything myself because if I don't, nobody else is going to do it. So all these agreements, and you're carrying them over the years with you. This process, as I am basically going through this visualization, it's allowed them to let go of all of these agreements. And then you feel like your weight has been lifting off of you. So then you can actually go and, you know, who you truly are, figure that part out, and then you can do what you truly want to do in life.
Well, thank you for that empowering answer, Mr. Peter.
You're welcome.
Very well said. The book includes hands on exercises at the end of each chapter. Can you share an example of one exercise that its impact on readers?
So yes, every single chapter basically has exercises, not only at the end of the chapter, but throughout the chapters to be able to. I want it to be like a four-dimensional experience for people. So one particular one, like I just said, that visualization exercise. Towards about three quarters into the book, I literally have them go through this visualization to this exercise when they can do it, you know, in their own space, in their own room, and just it's a guided kind of a exercise that helps them let go a lot of those limiting, you know, beliefs, agreements that they've done. I have exercises that helps them uncover what their fears are. So, what is that actual true fear that I have? How do I let it go? So there is exercises on every single chapter that helps them shed that old self and bring back the authenticity.
You describe the book as a practical guide, not just another self help book. What sets authentic self birth or rebirth apart from other books of authenticity?
Well, like I said, there is not only stories that I share in there from my own walk that are relatable to the reader, but from my other students. So that's part one. Part two, there is, you know, QR codes in there that they can, you know, scan the QR code and they can take into the website when there is a video that's related to that particular chapter. So it's very practical knowledge, practical exercises I have them do that they can incorporate. They write. This book is meant as a journal. So, in fact, what happens if you look at the cover of the book, you showed it earlier, at the top of the book, there is a line where they can literally write their own name. And up to this point, I have never seen a book where you can actually write your own name at the top of the book. So, for instance, in your case, it would be Daniel's Authentic Self Rebirth. I want the reader to own that book. This is your journal. This is your kind of a book that you're going to be able to take with you that you can write in there. Like there is lines in the book, there are practical answers that you're going to talk through to be able to go, not just read it and then set it down, but it's impactful. In fact, I just had one person buy the book in the pre-release stages right now, and she read it over the weekend, and she said that it was basically transformed how she looks at life, how she does this. She was not in a very good place after reading this book. She's feels like she's on like in a flow. She's ready to rock and roll, and she's making things happen and making phone calls in her business, and it's working for her.
Interesting indeed, Mr. Peter. How does the book help people pleaser break free from emotional cycles to live more authentically?
Yes. So, by the way, I'm Polish Peter. I'm a recovering people pleaser, and the reason why I said this because I was a huge people pleaser. And what ended up happening is in my life, I would say yes to everything and everybody by myself and by to the people who are most important to me. So in the book, I literally tackled that particular subject matter because I went through it And when you start to uncover what is driving that people pleaser mentality, because most of us are not really clear on what that is. And for me, it was making sure that I'm good enough. That was that fear that was driving it. And then, like I mentioned in a earlier in the podcast, when you go and start this unconditional love process for yourself within yourself, all of a sudden you end up start letting go of some of this. I have to say yes, I have to say yes, because what if they don't like me, what if they're not going to want to do business with me, whatever it might be. And the other part I talk about towards the end of the book about writing your own vision, which includes obviously a calendar. When you have things in your calendar that you are committed to, that are most important to you, that you're big whys, then guess what? um, if that's in your calendar, then nobody else can be in that same specific spot. To give you an example, at 3:30 in the afternoon every day, I'm in the gym. That spot is taken up by my calendar because it's for me. It's to make me better. So then at that particular time, nobody can actually come into that calendar at all at that same specific time. I hope you can understand what I'm saying here.
Yes, indeed, Mr. Peter. And as an author and a speaker, what are your short term and long term goals?
What are my what? Say it again.
Short term and long term goals.
Well, short-term goals is obviously, as I'm going into this pre-launch phase, I want this book to make an impact on people's lives, share it with as many people as possible. And in the long-term goals, I truly want to shift this ideology that is in that personal development space, that there is something broken with you. I think there is so many conversations in a personal development space, and in the world really, is that there's something broken, you're broken, you need to fix yourself. And I don't believe that with anything. I think we may live in a broken world. However, it's not that you are broken, it's that you need to let go of a lot of those blind agreements that you let acquired. So my long-term goal is to be impact that humanity, impact at least one person or 100 people or a million people, to be able to go and get back to their authenticity.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Peter. Looking forward for more success. And what would be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be a coach and want to be an author like you?
Well, one piece of advice to be a coach and an author, I would say, don't let the world tell you what you cannot do. Go and never give up. I will tell you this to my students. One phrase that I have with them is, if you bang your head against the wall, it's not the best, visual, but something's going to give. It's either going to be that drywall or it's going to be your head. You're going to stop. I'm not going to be the one who's going to stop. What that means is that don't let the world tell you otherwise, and don't ever give up on what you are going after. Keep pushing through it. You're going to have obstacles. You're going to have things that are going to get in your way, like I have right now, even with launching of this book. But you never give up. Just keep going until, my expression is, and my students know this, a lot of people who listen to me know this, until the cows come home. So just keep going, never give up, and don't let the world tell you otherwise.
Yes, people, don't give up. Try and try until you succeed. Mr. Peter, can you please recommend a book that influenced your journey?
My book that reading for it, there was a book called Life on Air. You can go and look it up. Life on Air. It's a book of stories that were combined together from different people in life, and it basically, a lot of people find themselves in that book as they're reading it. It's a story kind of a book, but it helps. It made a big difference for me, because what I found in that book is I was one of those characters, and I was working 80, 90, 100 hours a week for my family, whereas it actually was doing the other thing around. So that was a very impactful book for me, Life on Air. And go check that out.
Thank you for that recommended book, Mr. Peter. The book is described as inspirational yet practical. How do you balance storytelling with actionable steps to ensure readers leave the transformation?
Well, so I will tell you this: the feedback that I'm getting so far from the book is inspirational from the perspective that I'm talking the real truth, kind of a thing. I am sharing real stories, and so they'll be inspired to take action. In fact, at the end of the book, I have an important chapter that talks about creating your next steps, your vision for your life. And the practicality of it is that it's going to the steps that you take. If you, I'll tell you this, if you take this book and use it to your advantage and do the exercises and go through this book, you will have some form of a rebirth for yourself. And you're going to find out more about yourself than you've probably done on this particular point.
How does authentic self rebirth address cultural or societal pressures that keep people from being their authentic selves?
Yes, so I do talk about that in the book. As obviously a lot of those, there's a chapter on blind agreements, and a lot of those blind agreements come from as we were growing up. So anywhere from ages 5 to 18, and so I go through different stages. I explain what those stages are and what the agreements that you've probably created yourself. So I do talk about how the society is. I don't particularly agree with everything that society says, and it's very clear in that book. A lot of things that are against the norm that are in the book, which is probably one of the reasons why this book is even before the launches. People are talking about it and sharing it and asking more about it.
Well, congratulations again, Mr. Peter. You've spoken on stage across the country. How has sharing the book's message in person influenced its development or reception?
Well, so as I've been sharing on the stages around the in the country, more so in my own story as opposed to the book, because I haven't talked many times on in regards to the book itself. But I'll tell you this: that when you're vulnerable, when you share authentically, and you create a space of no judgment, you can really impact other people's lives. Because what I find consistently when people talk to me at those events, and I've probably done about 100 different events so far, is that they find that we are not that much different. We may come from different backgrounds, different cultures, different people. There are 7 billion people in this world. But if you really look at this, what I talk about in this book, we are not that much different. And when you discover that, all of a sudden you don't feel alone like you used to be.
Mr. Peter, what role, what role does self compassion play in the book's framework for releasing limiting belief and embracing authenticity?
I think that's a great question. So it's not just self compassion. I would say it's the unconditional love for yourself. I think what's happening in the society, we've been taught to have conditions on how we love others, on how we love ourselves. And when you start to look from that perspective of what does unconditionally mean? That means that, I like things about me, and the things that are not so good about me, I love them as well. I love both sides. So what does that look like? And how do you actually approach that? Having this unconditional love for yourself, starting from here, then doing for others, that it really transform how you start to operate in life.
How can readers use the seven human drives to better understand their relationships with others, as I mentioned in the book?
Yep. So, like I said earlier, for instance, I go through all these 7 human drives. And what ends up happening is at the end of the chapter, I challenge you on finding a person that's very close to you to see if you can figure out what their top drives are. So, when you discover what the other person's top drives are, you'll know how to speak to them, how to communicate with them, what drives them, and then when you are, whether it's a significant other, whether it's your child, whether it's your parent, whether it's your business partner or possible client, if you're looking to do sales, when you know that other person's top drives, what drives them, then you can speak to that drive. And that's when people start looking like, oh, this guy has a charisma, or this guy gets me, or he understands me, or I like to do business with them because of the fact that, or even from personal, relationship, like a wife or a child. For instance, like if one of my kids, for instance, he has a high need for connection. That means he loves, his drive is to connect with people. So He always wants to hang out with someone else. My other kid, not so much. So when I go and start, talking to the kid that does not, being with somebody else doesn't drive him as much, then guess what? There is going to be friction. There is going to be an argument. Now, if I start comparing it to the other kid that likes to hang out with other people, then guess what? That's going to create a friction as well. So, knowing how to communicate with people based on their drives is huge and transforms your world on how you communicate with yourself and with others.
Very well said, Mr. Peter. Beautifully articulated. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please to listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Love Letters in fourth season, as well as my movie 101 review and music 101, science 101 and sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Peter, if you were to add a new chapter to a future edition, what emerging challenge to authenticity would you address and why?
Wow, that's a great question. Future chapter. I would probably talk about, because for some people it's going to be like a brand new world. So I would probably start talking about writing a chapter on how to be good with of itself in this brand new world. How do you actually, so you don't freak out and you're, ready to take on the world for more authenticity. So what happens after you fully, create that vision and things like that? I think that's probably what I would be talking about.
Mr. Polish Peter Kolat, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your book, your advocacy, your coaching, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Thank you.
So, Mr. Polish, where do people can buy your books right now?
Yes.
Your
So
upcoming book.
yeah, so they can go to myauthenticrebirth.com, and there is a lot of bonuses that I'm providing as part of the pre-release phase. The release of the book happens on September 9th, but if you head over there before that, you'll be able to pick up a lot of different bonuses, and there will be links on, whether you buy it at your favorite bookstore, whatever that may be, Barnes and Nobles, Amazon's, Books a Million, any place that you can purchase the book.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Polish Peter Kolat, because if you support him, for sure, more and more and more empowering books like this to come, more and more empowering coaching to come. So, Mr. Peter, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
More to come, people. See you soon.